Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only podcast that, like the Cardinals this year, are relevant longer than we expected. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Hey, Nate H.
Opening bit, of course, inspired by something Hambone himself said in the Bird Scored this week. If you have an idea for the opening bit, you could consider joining the Bird Scored or text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS.
Now I'm doing your job. Obviously, I'm still doing my job. I mean, my back over here, Nathan. My back.
Yeah, a lot of heavy lifting going on around here. Hambone, we've got a couple bits of business to get to before we get into the core content.
Man, you seem locked in early on this one. This is going to be
actually.
A good
I kind of feel like shit. I've got a terrible. I woke up yesterday. I came down with some sort of summer cold, and it actually, and
weak stock.
You know how difficult this is for me. It hurts to talk right now.
Oh no.
But I've got some liquids next to me, and I'm just trying to keep a pace so we can get this over with.
Okay.
It's a good show. It's a good show. And we got a packed show, Hamba, and we always got a packed show. But a couple bits of business. We both have some travels over the next couple weeks, so the schedule might be a little wonky. Don't worry, we've yet to miss a show on this show for now 3.5 years almost. So if you're all out there, you're sweating, maybe you're pounding the table in rage. Don't worry, calm down. Just letting you know, it might be a little topsy-turvy over the next 2 weeks as we navigate some summer plans. But we'll be here. Wow. And you've got a little trip yourself coming up this weekend. Is that right?
Oh my gosh, I do, Nathan. I do have a trip coming up.
What are you doing? Tell the people.
Oh, we're going to Chicago for the 4th of July weekend. We're actually going for a family get-together for my lovely wife's side of the family. But we're making a little thing out of it. So we're going to fly out there. We'll be out there for the long weekend. And what's more exciting, probably to the people that listen to the show, is that I will be at the Cubs Cardinals game on Saturday at Wrigley. And I haven't been to Wrigley in such a long time. Obviously, it's, the best, maybe the second best. Haven't been to a Cubs Cardinals game in even longer of a time. So yeah, super excited. We're gonna try to meet some friends. We're gonna try to eat some of that good Chicago food. I'm definitely gonna get a double cheeseburger after the game.
You gonna get a beef?
Maybe we'll get a beef. Yeah, I might get a beef. Watching the Bear, we finished the 4th season of the Bear, so I'm feeling very Chicago.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to fireworks. There's also a NASCAR street race happening this same weekend that we're there, and I also think it's Taste of Chicago. So we got Cubs Cardinals weekend, Mary's family's family reunion. We have a NASCAR street race and the 4th of July. Did I miss anything? There's a lot going on this weekend.
Can you combine it? Can you combine a couple of them, like shoot some fireworks at the NASCAR or something like that?
We could do that. I was just thinking using hard drugs to not sleep and just to power through the whole thing.
Yeah, ketamine's really popular right now, so I think you could do that. Or I read recently.
Yeah, it could be like our thought leaders, our brave leaders, and do a bunch of ketamine.
Yeah, I read recently that cocaine's at an all-time high too. Cocaine use.
Hey, cocaine's cool, man. Yeah, Eric Clapton knew it, and I know it as well.
Chicago, great cocaine city.
You have to do cocaine there because all the food is so heavy just to even out.
Yep. That's what they say. I can't remember that. Come on. This is a clean show. It's a good show. I haven't been to a Cardinal game
You don't go to baseball games. That doesn't surprise me.
Baseball games are for nerds. I haven't been to a game at Wrigley in a long time, but I've been several times. It is fun. I know I went like right when did they add in all the new shit, like the big.
Oh geez, that was like right before all the Anthony Rizzoing and all that stuff. So I'm gonna guess like 2012.
Yeah, I went to a game right around then, and I think that's the last time I've been to Wrigley. Well, I'll be interested to hear how it goes for you. Hopefully, it'll be a good series. I'm
gonna go. If somebody listening is also going to be there, I'll be sitting just to the left of home plate, back about 30 rows, and I'll be wearing my Ozzie Smith warm up. So look out for your boy.
I went to Chicago in October for a show. We went and saw a band play. So I love Chicago. Are you gonna get some Pequods, or have you game planned out your meals? Are you gonna get some pizza or?
So we might get some pizza. We probably won't do Pequods because I've had it many times. We are kind of leaning into, it's also like there's like a ton of like Michelin restaurants and stuff like that. So we're going to a Bib Gourmand restaurant, which is like a Michelin acknowledged restaurant for a vegetarian tasting menu. My wife is vegetarian, and it is not super easy to find like a fancy ass vegetarian tasting menu. So we're taking advantage of that. That's the only thing I have in the books.
Did she?
I gotta get a Chicago
Did she pick
dog.
that place because they give you a bib? Because you need it because you're a little baby, little cry diaper baby.
So what you're thinking that Bib Gourmand means that some people would choose it so that they could wear a bib while they're eating it?
It's normally in your situation where there's someone's spouse.
You're so unbelievably stupid. Also, I found the restaurant, so I mean, she's not doing anything. Let's get serious.
That's fair.
I got my eye set on one of my favorite food items in the entire world is a proper Chicago hot dog with like an entire pickle on it and everything like that. So I'm gonna go ham on that.
Go ham on a hot dog.
You get it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Did you take some cold medicine or something? What is wrong with you?
Just thinking about how you would apply ham to a hot dog. Would you wrap it?
Extremely. Bacon wrapped hot dogs are all
That's
over
not
the
the
place.
same thing though.
Wake up, Nathan.
Let's talk about the Cardinals. We got some Cardinal news to talk about. It's we're going to talk about like the games and the state of play here in a little bit, but you're going to see the second series against the Cubs. When we recorded last, the Cardinals had just won 2 of 4. Well, they'd won 2 in a row against the Cubs. Everyone was feeling really, really good about that series. Ultimately ended up being a split. Which was disappointing. After winning the first 2, it really felt like you could grab another one. But going into that series, we had said like, well, a split would be a good outcome for the Cardinals. So we're happy with that. Hopefully you'll get to see a win in, when you're there in Wrigley. But I always feel like every game at Wrigley is a crapshoot, right? So. Yeah. Especially peak summer, chaos. 4th of July weekend in Wrigley. It's probably
I expect it'll be jam packed. It's going to be a really good time. I'm looking forward to it.
Let's get down some of the news from the last week. Hambone, you wanna start us off here?
You got to get up to get down, Nate.
I don't know why I said it that way. I'm like, we're just gonna let that one slide, but he did not.
Yep. This happened. He did not. I'm right here. You're talking to me. What is wrong with you?
I'm doing great. You're the one who sucks.
Your eyes are watery.
It's like super hot in my room, right? It's a horrible combination. I've got a really bad cold. It is hot as hell in my room. I'm sweating. It's a real mess.
All right. This happened right after we got off of last week's show. So everybody knows this already. But Jordan Walker, right before he came off the IL, went back to the IL with appendicitis. So he had his little appendix removed. We're expecting a pretty quick recovery. But the season of Jordan Walker coming out of his cocoon and turning into a beautiful butterfly is just keeps not happening.
Man, this guy just can't catch a break. He finally, other than, like breaking his wrist, he like finally starts to maybe show some consistency, then gets hurt, comes back, gets very little playing time because some other guys are popping off, which is what it is. And then now appendicitis. Seems like it's a quick recovery. He's already in rehab games, should be back soon. With the amount that Garrett Hampson has been starting for the St. Louis Cardinals, it sure seems like there's going to be ample playing time for him again, considering some of the other injuries. So I think he could not come back soon enough. But man, what a string of bad luck after what looked like, some degree of leveling up at the major league level.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, and now it's like been so long since he's been in a major league game, like at least for any level of consistency. That's like, okay, where are we going to be starting at? How long is the rehab assignment going to be? Also, like, we'll talk about it more, but this is the month. It's July, Nate. This is the do or die month for the season. This next 2.5, 3 weeks is going to be how the remainder of the season and how the season is remembered. So it's like, are you going to give meaningful at bats to a Jordan Walker that's got a scar, a bleeding scar around his midsection? Or are you going to let him get tuned back up? We're in a weird part of the year, and it's this whole year, it just sucks for Jordan Walker. And the main goal of this season was to get him going, to give him runway out of any of the players. It's great to see Gorman banging a bit. It's great to see Burley banging a bit. Obviously, Masyn Winn is getting better. Victor Scott's getting better. But this is your blue chip guy, and it's just been, we're just treading water. Yeah. It sucks. And it's not his fault. It's not his fault his appendix exploded.
Bad timing.
It's, it's the way it is.
Yeah, it's like the one thing the Cardinals were consistently clear about this offseason is that Jordan Walker is the starting right fielder.
That and
trading
Granado, of course.
Of course. And we're so glad they got that done too.
Mo set out and accomplished exactly what he wanted.
As a great man once said, mission accomplished. So I have to imagine with the current injuries, I mean, I know that there's no one being placed on the IL right now, but there's a few guys banged up. Wilson Contreras, mostly, again, I already said it.
Took a 99 mile an hour fastball off the hand.
I was like, oh, here we go again. Was it last year he broke his wrist from a pitch? Or no, it was the backswing of the... Yeah.
It was the backswing, cracked his forearm.
Like, here we go again. But seems like he's okay, so that's good. But Garrett Hampson has started like 3 or 4 games already, and he was picked up right before last week's episode, and we were like, okay, this is a 26th man. P said we'll probably see as a pinch runner. Instead, he's been a part of the lineup almost every game since. And so with that in mind, I imagine that there is a spot for Jordan Walker immediately upon return, assuming we are where we are right now. And I still think that's the right play. But if everybody's healthy, then I don't know. I don't know that you may. I think you stick with the end of May, early mid-June lineup that was winning you all those games, and then at the end of July, if we are not in a buying moment, then all right, we're back to Walker every day in right field.
I want Jordan Walker to play as much as the next guy, but when you have Burley, who's cooled off a little bit, Nolan Gorman, who's doing things, to JC, who I think you and I have a lot of faith in. Ooh, where's this guy hitting? Where's this guy starting? And you're, like I said, this is the time right now. If you're ever going to put the absolute bet, you need to squeeze every drop of productive juice out of these 26 guys over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and see if you can push in and make that trade and go actually go for this wild card spot that the Cardinals are currently sitting in.
What I was,
and it's just really hard for me to see Walker as a part of that.
That's what I was just pulling up. So
as we stand, the Cardinals are in the middle of the third game against the Pirates. They are 47-40, a half game ahead of the Padres, surprisingly, for the third wild card spot. Above them is Milwaukee, and then the Mets. And the Mets are only 2 games up on that spot for the Cardinals too. So, they've
been streaking in the wrong direction.
Kind of everyone has. The everything is still pretty wide open. And so if in 3 weeks from now the Cardinals are in even a game up a half game, up a game, down a half game, I think they'd be justified in trying to add on to this team and continue going, because you've said this a lot. So to echo your point, but like when you got a chance, you got to take it, right? Because you just never know. I think we are they are in win now mode for the next 3 weeks, and then we see where it goes from there. But if it's Garrett Hampson or Jordan Walker, the choice is clear.
If that's the choice, I mean, call up Siani. What the hell are we doing here? Or give me Nate Church. He's banging it down there. Like, if that's really the thought process, no. Just stop that.
And that has been a little frustrating because we're recording on Wednesday and we're expressing the need to win right now. It's been that case for a couple weeks now, really, and we're seeing, despite these injuries, Garrett Hampson being the chosen solution to this problem when there's a lot of other ways this team could go. They did finally call up José Fermín, which is our next piece of news here, and he's always been this kind of enticing, but you don't know if it's real at the major league level kind of guy. Like, is he a quad A player, or what is he? Probably still not going to solve that right now, but I thought it made sense to bring him up right now. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that the Cardinals, if I were to be John Mozeliak and augment this roster, I would love to find a right-handed hitter, especially a right-handed hitter that excels against lefties. Fermín can be that guy. Problem with Fermín is that he's not a great defender. Yeah. They're actually starting him in the outfield today, as you and I are recording. They're starting him in right field. I think that's pretty interesting. Like, he's just not great on the infield. But I believe in the hit tool, and I believe in his ability to just put together good major league at-bats. So I like that. I like that he's a right-handed hitter. We are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, it certainly feels better than I've said his name too many times now, Garrett Hampson. I'd much rather continue to try out Fermín, except for that I think you have him in our little draft day bet. So,
that's a good point. So. Yeah, hopefully something really bad happens to him.
Jose Barrero cleared waivers, but elected free agency. So,
yes.
Rip to a real one. We kind of talked about him last week as that decision was really made. You never know if he's going to make it to, stay in the org or not. Now we know he's out of the org. So that era is done.
Seems like there was some reporting that at least one Japanese baseball team is interested in his services. So seems likely he'll probably do something like that and go get paid. And I don't know, maybe he'll figure it out over there and come back. We watched this guy for a couple of months. Clearly he is very talented. It's the plate approach that needs some fixing, but I would love to see, I'm going to be a Jose Barrero fan and I would love to see him kind of figure it out at some point.
I agree. Yeah. He's still young enough that he could still have, a meaningful career in baseball. Now, whether it's in MLB or not, I guess, right now that's uncertain. But yeah, tooled up guy, just hasn't been able to put it all together. Right. Yeah. So we've got the trade deadline, July 31st at 6 p.m. I know it's been several years now at this point, but what a finally smart move by MLB to move that to a prime time hour and not the midnight it used to be.
Why would they do that?
It's so just stupid. Something. It was just baseball being behind the modern era. Where people are actively monitoring it up until the last minute, which is not how it used to be, right? Like not in the way that we do now with social media and whatnot. And so it didn't really matter that it was midnight. It's just, yeah, end of day, right?
Yeah.
So, 6 p.m. is more exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've been threatening a trade deadline episode the last couple of years. We just haven't really had a reason to hop on mic and talk about it. But maybe this is the year, Nate.
I mean, we almost did it for the Tommy Edman trade last year, but even then it felt like he hadn't played with the Cardinals for most of the year. Like we love a Tommy Edman. Of course we do. One of the greatest Cardinals of all time.
Greatest humans of all time.
Put him on a mountain. Maybe this year,
like just to stay on a mountain.
Put that man
just
on a mountain.
Live up there.
My side of the mountain style. He's got to carve out a big tree and tame a hawk. I bet you ever read that book?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on. Well, see you later. So I mean, we've been dancing around it. If the trade deadline were today, I think the Cardinals would be buyers. But we've got 3.5 weeks of ball left, and I don't even know where to go with this conversation right now, because you've got the Cardinals win 2 of 4 against the one of the best teams in baseball, unfortunately, Cubs. Then you sweep the Guardians, who they're terrible, but still, a sweep is always hard. A couple comeback wins, fun games. You sweep them, and then now we are in the 7th, losing 1-0 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, of course, this could be over. This could change in the next hour, and you'll all be listening to this tomorrow. But like, we're back at like, oh, this is what a 500 team looks like. So what do you hope to? What do you think the Cardinals the next 3 weeks needs to look like for the Cardinals to stay in this race?
I think they should play good ball.
Got it. Mate. All right, moving on.
Here's the deal. The Cardinals have a pretty weak schedule for the month of July, and I think that's what's key. Obviously, the Cardinals are going to be playing the Cubs this weekend, who are arguably the first or second best team in the National League, and hopefully we could take 2 out of 3 there. Just don't get swept, and you're still feeling okay. After that, they play the Nats, Braves, D-backs, and Rockies. All of those teams are under 500, except for the D-backs. They actually just got up to 1 game above 500. You have to feel pretty good about going into the Nats series. The Braves are strong right now, and you're a little bit worried about them, although they've had a really bad start. But with Acuna doing his thing and Chris Sale doing his thing, they're a concern. D-backs are a 500 team, so do what you can there. And then the Rockies are one of the worst teams we've ever seen. So if you can play, and win almost all of those series, which it doesn't seem that hard to do, if you can take, if you take 3 of those 4 series, let's just say that, which does not seem like that big of a stretch based on the competition, then we're in the mode. That's all you need to focus on right now. If they can take care of that business and not get slaughtered by the Cubbies, which, by the way, including that series, we have 9 games against the Cubs for the rest of the season. So it's going to be a knockdown drag out up until the end here, which is exciting. Although it might not really be much of a competition for the division, but they kind of hold our fate for the wild card. But I think if the Cardinals can stick around these next 3 weeks and take care of their business, which shouldn't be that hard, it's going to be fine, and we're going to keep pushing, and we're going to go get a starting pitcher or maybe another right-handed outfielder or something else. I don't know. I think the question is I think you and I agree a starting pitcher would be great. We've talked about Edward Cabrera in the past. We talked about Jose Soriano the other day. I think a pitcher with a little bit of control would go a long way for the Cardinals, although it would be more expensive. Outside of the starting pitcher, what do the Cardinals need from your point of view?
Well, I do want to circle back on starting pitcher. Edward Cabrera, I think, is kind of breaking out right now. So if they can get him, he's always been one of those guys, right? It seems like high strikeout.
His stuff is he's got filthy.
Yeah, take a look at his last 50 innings pitched. He's been very, very good. So it might be a little late to get him at any sort of price that you were hoping to. But at some point, the Cardinals just have to bite the bullet and acquire probably an expensive but good starting pitcher at the major league level if they intend to compete this year, and then hopefully it's someone that you have for next year. We've spent a lot of time this season talking about the starting pitching, and we saw Fetty get blown up, who's supposed to be your number 2, and he's been really struggling. Obviously, Gray Liberator is a pretty good 1-2. If we make it to the playoffs, I think we'd all be pretty happy with that. But the path there has a whole lot of Fetty, Palante, Michaelis, along the road that I'm not super comfortable with. Haven't been all season, and even less so right now. So I think the primary thing is a starting pitcher, and I think it's that. And then like 3 steps down, I think if you can't do that, then we need the bullpen. Everybody's buying bullpen pieces at the deadline. It's always the most expensive time to get bullpen pieces, but they cannot win consistently with the current starting rotation, in my opinion. The elite defense has been lifting it up, but I imagine the teams we're in direct competition with over the next for these wildcard spots are going to be adding on at this time too. Yeah. That's part of the whole deadline. You're not just trying to fix your team, you're competing with what the other teams you're competing with are doing to improve their teams. One of these wildcard teams is going to go all in and like pile in, or maybe the Padres, they've always done it, right? So like you can fall behind by standing still. So if it's not a starting pitcher, then it's got to be a couple high-end relievers. Even though we like the bullpen as it stands, you need that thing super deep so you can start going to your bullpen in the 4th, the 5th, whatever it may be. The moment you see Fetty doesn't have it tonight, we got to win. Get him out. Michaelis is getting shelled. We got to get him out. Move to the bull. We can't afford to let these guys just go into the 5th and 6th just because they're big, tough guys who can do that. Every game is going to be win now for this team to make it to the playoffs. So I think it starts and stops at pitching. I think the roster, I guess if health or the lineup, I guess if health takes a turn in either direction over the next month and you start to have a real hole, if we are going into the deadline starting Hampson or Fermín in right field, there you go. There's a pretty clear opportunity, and there's usually some bats available on the at the deadline that may bolster. But I'm just going to hope and assume that the lineup is solvable with what we have in house. It's the pitching that you're going to need to improve.
I disagree with you. I think I agree with you on the starting pitcher side, but I think that the Cardinals have enough arms in the organization that they should pull people like Takao Roby, Roberse, Roderick Munoz, Quinn Matthews, any of these guys. I also throw maybe Ryan Fernandez will be effective at that time. We acquired Tyler Matzik a little bit ago. Did I say Tinkens?
No.
Those types of guys, I think, can bolster your bullpen from within. I would like the Cardinals to go get a starting pitcher. And then I got 2 guys I want to highlight. And we'll keep talking about this for the next month because we got a month long of trade talk to discuss. But 2 guys I want to highlight today. The first being Rob Reifsnyder, who is a kind of outfielder utility man for the Red Sox this year. Rob Reifsnyder is not the sexiest player of all time, but he is mashing lefties. He has a 942 OPS against lefties right now. He's a right-handed hitter. He could play outfield and kind of do a little bit of everything. But I think he would be an ideal target. I think that he would be cheap. All right, what are you doing?
I was looking at the I'm listening to you.
I could hear it. I could hear something.
No, I don't know what that was. I didn't do anything with sound. I was looking at the standings to see where the Red Sox land. Is there something?
It was very. I could hear like a. It sounded like the game or something in my headphones.
I don't know. Maybe you're getting the like radio wave thing through your headphones or something.
What?
That happens if you have like your headphones can pick up radio waves. That's why you got to wear your tinfoil hats. I'm leaving all this in.
Okay. Listen back to the recording. There was some, anyways. Rob Reifsnyder, I think would make a lot of sense. I think he'd be easy to get and cheap to get. And then I also want to call out Ryan Mountcastle, who has not been mashing lefties right now, but he hits the ball extremely hard. Obviously, everything is going wrong for the Orioles right now, but I think grabbing a right-handed bat that can put the ball over the wall would do this team a lot of good. And I think, unfortunately, Jordan Walker's not that guy. And I think the Cardinals just need a little bit more power. So those are the two targets that I wanted to point out right now. And again, starting pitcher number one, right-handed bat number two. And, maybe that right-handed bat is DHing, maybe they're outfielding. I think those would be the two ideal things. Hopefully Ivan Herrera comes back, and he's a huge benefit to the lineup on the right-hand side, but that's what I'm seeing.
The team obviously struggles pretty heavily against lefties, especially when Ivan is not in the lineup. So part of me feels like a lot of this whole thing is going to be decided if he's there or not, right? Because he's been the best hitter on the team, one of the best hitters in baseball, and it's clearly just a completely different lineup when he's there versus when he's not. I would, as I was saying, as we were distracted by alien radio waves, Boston is 42 and 44, very likely selling, and they very much want to move on to their extreme amount of high-end prospects. So I imagine you could get something like that pretty cheap. I've never been a big Mountcastle fan, but I do agree, especially in sort of a platoon space. I imagine he'd be more valuable than what he's been for the Orioles. This year, he's been particularly rough, though. So I don't know if you're buying that, but I imagine they're probably kind of giving him away. Is he a free agent after this year?
I believe so. I can tell you in just a moment. Though.
And it could just be like the Orioles are cursed this year, and maybe he'd be change of scenery type of thing, and he could return to it because he's obviously been good at times. And
he's mashed lefties historically. So I just think, again, I don't think we need like a superstar, but a guy that can come in and start against lefties, I think would be very helpful. No, he's not a free agent until 2027. So that might be a little more expensive than I originally thought.
Yeah, I've just never
just on the control alone.
I've just never been. I'd be worried. You just end up buying him and then not really wanting him for next year, as some of these other. That feels like that's another batch that goes into the log jam.
I just don't think there's a log jam on the right-handed hitting side. I wish there was. I wish that I could talk about how Walker is mashing lefties, but he's not.
True. I guess I just think of like, where do you play him, right? But I guess if you're optimizing against a lefty, there's plenty of spots there for him. All right, so let's talk about some of the state of play from the last week. The story of the Cardinals has been Burleson has been one of the best hitters in baseball basically since May, but he has cooled down a little bit with a rough week since we recorded last week. Are you worried at all, or is this just a slump? Just a standard variance of baseball?
I'm kind of always worried about Burleson because the way Burley is valuable is a tightrope walk. And by that I mean he has to be hitting the shit out of the ball constantly. Because he doesn't walk. He can't run. He can't play defense. He's not really doing anything else. So he has to be hitting the ball hard all of the time. And even the best players in the world, that's really hard to do. So, I'm a little worried, but he's it's only a week. He's getting BABIP'd a little bit to death. But like I said, it turns into a black hole because he's not walking and he doesn't do anything else. So it's, and again, this is like an overreaction on 8 games, but looking at his last 8 games, he's hitting 156 and he has accrued negative 0.2 WAR. Yeah. And it's because everything else about his game is a black hole.
Yeah. It's
That's why I'm always kind of worried about him, and that's why I've asked for him to be traded, because he doesn't make a lot of sense on this team. But it is fun when he's hitting.
Well, everyone knows
can't deny
I'm
that.
the biggest supporter of Burleson on this team. I'm a huge fan, and I've always defended him on this team. So I feel like it's my job to say that. I think you give him a little bit more time. 8 games is an incredibly small sample size, and a couple of those hits, drop instead of outs, and that whole line looks different. But you do highlight -2 or -0.2 FWAR in 8 games is rough. That's he basically has no floor. It's kind of like Gorman, although Gorman can play a pretty good second base. There's just like, if they're not doing their one thing that they're very, very good at, everything else is just tanked. So, I do have some faith in Burleson's hit tool, but it was inevitable after what he did in May and through most of June.
Oh yeah, he was one of the better hitters in baseball.
There's going to be some swings, and not just at the plate. There's gonna, be
wow. Oh my God.
I got us.
This is gonna be the last episode. I think
I
we
got
throw
a summer
this one
cold,
away.
Ben.
Yeah, you look terrible.
All right. We kind of already talked about Fermín a little bit, but what are you seeing about Fermín and his little cup of coffee he's gotten so far this week?
I just think he has a really great plate approach. That walk that he took in Tuesday night's game at the end of the game was really impressive. He's been making hard contact. The thing is, he is that righty bat that I was asking for. Maybe he is Rob Reifschneider, but for the Cardinals. So, maybe he makes it irrelevant. He's just hit so well in the minors for such a long time. He's obviously patient. He's not a masher. I hear it again.
I don't know what to tell you, man. I hear nothing. I know that I'm sick, but I think you're losing your mind a little bit.
I see your mic bumping up and down. If you hear this and you're listening, please reach out to me, because I feel like I'm losing my mind.
No, that's just me.
Anyways, I just like what José Fermín is doing.
So there is a thing that if your headphone jack isn't protected, it can pick up radio waves. I mean, you've got more modern looking headphones. I'd be very surprised if that's what it is. But that is a real thing. I'm not just making that up.
I don't want to talk about this anymore on the podcast, but I see when it's happening, your microphone thingy is bumping up and down. I don't know.
I've got nothing going on here. I'm just here. I'm just here in my room.
I'm seeing and hearing.
Oh, wait, hold on. I got my boombox over here. Hold on. Let me go turn off my...
It sounds like it.
No, I got nothing. I don't know what to tell you. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about Fermín for a couple of years now. Like, it's just, does it translate? And I don't know if right now is the right time to be trying to figure that out, but they don't have a lot of other options. So I guess,
well, so far so good. Like, obviously it's extremely limited, but he's hitting 667 in his cup of coffee. Yeah. So far so good. He's got 4 hits in 4 games.
Got a double today in today's game that's playing right now. Yeah. So I certainly like it better than Garrett Hampson. So
absolutely.
I know you wanted to just we've been kind of negative. Despite the Cardinals' generally good play, I mean, this Pirate series is looking like a real wash. But despite
the offense is just completely turned off.
But there's a few things we want to talk about that are positive. I feel like we've been kind of negative for about 20 minutes now. Let's talk about Masyn Winn. I just always feel good talking about Masyn Winn. At the end of the day, regardless of how this season goes for the Cardinals, we got Masyn Winn, and that makes us happy. So what do you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, I think what's fun is that he just became according to FWAR, the most valuable position player on the Cardinals, which is kind of fun because he is so young and he's just a little baby, and he is just continuing to get better and better and better, which sparks joy. And I think what really stuck out is this weekend and these last couple of games against the Pirates is how good of a defender he is. There was that bang play that he made to get Brian Reynolds out. I think they clocked his throw from short to first base at like 91 or 92 miles per hour. He's so steady. He plays every day. Maybe the power will come, maybe it will not. Who cares?
Yeah.
He is one of the, if not one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball. I'm just very happy to be a team with Masyn Winn on it. And he is quickly becoming the best player, if not already the best player. Extend this man, give this man money. I love Masyn
It's always
Winn.
incredible to me that so he can throw like 93 miles per hour. And I know it's a different distance and things like that, but he can throw like 93 miles per hour, like falling over to, and it takes some pitchers like a full on wind up and delivery to get to like 92, and he does it on the move. It's incredible. I mean, we know he was a pitcher when he, like most guys of his talent, when they do every single thing on their team and then they get drafted and they get, selected. But, it's like, you could just see this guy was probably going to be really good at whatever direction he decided to go in. And I'm glad that he decided to be a shortstop because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad he's decided to be a Cardinal.
That was his decision.
Keep this going forever.
While
he signed.
That's true. He could have said no. And while we're talking about incredible performances, I know Sonny Gray has had some ups and downs this season. There have been at times where it's looked a little bit like, oh, are we getting a little bit of regression? But there is no other pitcher on the team who could have done what he did in this game against the Guardians. The complete game, 1 hit, 11 strikeouts, was it 89 pitches? Just an absolute dominant performance. I can't think of the last time we've seen a Cardinal do something like this. It was probably him sometime last year, and I'm just forgetting it. But I mean, just an incredible performance. I know not the strongest lineup, but any major league team that you do that to, like, just completely phenomenal. So how fun was that?
I mean, 1 hit, Nate. He was one at bat away from a perfect game. And I know that's easy to say. There's a lot of games that were almost perfect games, but I agree. Nobody else can do that. All of his pitches were absolutely ridiculous that night. I think he said the only time he shook off Pedro Pages was on that hit that was given up. The post-game interview where Sonny brought Pedro Pages along with him and they got covered in ice water together. Everything about it was great. And he had a great start against the Pirates today while we're recording. Looks like the Cardinals might lose this game, but he looks good again. Sonny Gray is, I was just talking about how Masyn Winn is the best position player on the team. I think it's still Sonny Gray is the best overall player on the team. Just putting up numbers like that, being the stopper for the Cardinals, a true ace, although some people might disagree with him being a true ace or not, but he's that guy.
Yeah, and this is exactly why we've talked about, like, we've been pretty frustrated with the decision making of the Cardinals at a very high level, but if you do foresee yourself competing in this year or next, like, you need a Sonny Gray, and so having him on the team, this is exactly why. I mean, this, what a game, and he's got many more like this in him. And it's really nice when you've got a lot of, like, even the best pitchers on the team, it's been inconsistency. Sonny Gray, you just have complete confidence every single time he goes out there.
Yeah, if maybe we could score some runs for him and keep it going. Garrett Hampson, we've talked about him too much already this episode. I did not think he was going to come up this often. But I also didn't think that Garrett Hampson was going to be a two-way player, and I kind of rescind everything that I said about him in last week's episode based on what I've seen. I mean, we're talking 3 up, 3 down. Nate, he's rocking the 0.00 ERA.
I know.
He's got a 3.09 FIP. What can't this guy
I was do? So they picked him up on when we recorded last Wednesday, and he came into the game that night to pitch, made his Cardinal debut as a pitcher. So funny. Actually, not the first time a position player has made their Cardinal debut as a pitcher. It happened like in 2004 or 5 or something. They were talking about it on the broadcast. But I love baseball, and just like, it's crazy to me that even has happened at all, let alone like more than once. Although I guess it kind of makes sense when you're like, all right, who's pitching? You look around the room like, all right, get the new guy out there. You can kind of see that decision making in the dugout. But yeah, I mean, what an inning. And I was saying the Cardinals need bullpen. Maybe they don't. Maybe Hampson is the choice.
Yeah, I agree. I hate to end our segment on a bit of a sour note, but I do think we have to talk about Eric Fetty. He's had 2 starts in a row where he's given up 7 earned runs. The first start, he went 3 2/3. The start against Pittsburgh, he went 5 innings. He had a couple of nice starts. He's coming off of 3 or 4 really solid starts, and then he totally slides back into kind of being. He got no strikeouts last game, 3 walks, gave up a homer. I already talked about the runs. The fastball wasn't looking great. I mean, it just all wasn't looking great. And when you're missing middle like he was, it's, it's easy for me to sit here right now and be like, okay, we lost the Tommy Edman trade because he's performing so poorly right now. His ERA is ballooning up. But it is really starting to hurt, Nate.
Yeah. I mean, I still, there's like process versus results. I think process-wise, I still support the Tommy Edman trade. And Fetty was not why the Cardinals lost in the second half last year and didn't make the playoffs. If anything, he's why they managed to stay, part of why they stayed above 500 last year. They got him for last year first, and then hopefully that carries into this year. So, but he's just, to me, this just puts it right back on the pile of the Cardinals do not have the starting pitching to make it the entire season and end in a wild card spot, and certainly not the NL Central, right? That they basically have 2 starting pitchers that you feel comfortable with every single night. And one of them, it's his first full season in the rotation. So it's not even fair to expect him to be like lights out every single night. So really, you've got one starting pitcher that you feel like you're really confident in. And he's 36 years old and has had his own blowups throughout this season. So like, the Cardinals are winning and they're a good team, but it is despite the starting rotation, not because of the starting rotation. And that just, Fetty, these blowups cement that. So that's why I go back to what we talked about earlier, where the trade deadline to me starts and stops at starting pitching.
It stinks. I mean, there's looking through the numbers, there's just nothing good to find. He's striking out less people than he ever has in his career. He's walking not the most, but about almost twice as many hitters as he was walking last year. He's not getting ground balls like he has historically throughout his career. And we've talked about how good the Cardinals defense is, so he's not taking advantage of that. He's had some flashes this season. I'm not saying it's all bad, and it's really easy to pile on a guy when he's got an ERA over the last 2 games that is, through the roof, but it's just a bummer. And it's maybe they can fix it. Maybe they can fix it this quickly. Maybe he can have 2 or 3 really solid starts in July, and we're talking about this less, but in this moment, it feels really bad. And like you're talking about, it just makes that need for another pitcher even more prescient. Like we gotta do something.
Yeah, but at this point, we're now at the point where almost every trade is going to happen on July 28th through July 31st. No one's trading right now unless they get completely blown out of the water. Everyone's going to want to wait until the very end to maximize trade value, competition, bidding wars, etc. So the team is as it is, and we'll see. I think I will say this on the cusp of 3 weeks of season defining play.
I'll say that if we can end positively, this has been a really fun team. And whether we're buyers in 3 weeks or not, I certainly have enjoyed watching the team, and I'm hopeful. I am hopeful that they are buyers. I think there are some fans out there that still want them to tear it down even more, trade off everybody, and go the full rebuild. I'm not there right now. I think you've got enough of a core that you can enter back into sort of short-term win now modes. I'm not saying sell the farm, although part of me wants to say that. I think you can probably sell a lot of the farm and maintain your big league roster for years to come. But I'm hoping that they're adding on, because this is a fun team, and I'd like to see the players rewarded as well for their effort and go for it in the second half.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that it's an interesting thought. If these next 3 weeks do go poorly, it's probably goodbye Helsley. Yeah. It's probably goodbye Steven Matz. I don't know about the position players. I don't know how desirable a lot of these guys are. But maybe you do sell off one of these infielders who are kind of blocking JJ Weatherholt and others. Maybe you do start to clean house and focus on the future. I don't want to think about that until I have to think about that, but it'd be a sad way to end this season.
It would be,
for sure.
That said, there's a lot of fun if you're a big baseball, I'm a big prospect guy. I really like that sort of stuff. So I don't want it for this year. But if it does get to that point, I think we can have some fun on the show and as a fan base, like digging into trades and prospects and the rebuild thing as well. So, but it's just who wants that when you got a team that's 7 games over 500 and you've got a young group like, Winn and Scott and Donovan and all that.
They're in the playoffs right now. So keep it going, boys.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about the upcoming series, a little bit of league news, and a little game. But before we do that, we want to remind everybody that this show is listener supported on patreon.com. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. If you want to support the time and effort, despite all external factors, we bring it to you every week. Same quality, bad, but it comes to you every single week. Consider joining the Patreon. Patrons get access to many things. Episodes, I get them out to you usually Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday nights, so you can get in a little bit early on the show. And access to the Bird Scored, which is our private Discord server. Great place to talk to other listeners and other Cardinal fans and just get away from the noise of social media and actually talk to other people who enjoy the Cardinals and have some fun with it. If you can't join that, we do appreciate everybody that takes a moment, really just takes like 30 seconds to whip out that device you're listening on and leave us a review of your on whatever your favorite. Whip it out. We're always saying that. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps. And tell your friends, tell your family. Hambone, we got all sorts of links that we want people to check out. Can you tell us a little bit about these links? You're a golf guy. Tell us about the links.
Interesting. Yeah, we're on Blue Sky, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. You can come click our faces over there. You can listen to this show on Spotify if you prefer that. You can watch this show. You can watch us. You can look at Nate's watery, sad eyes and interesting hairstyle today on YouTube. It's interesting. I didn't say it was bad. You can find all of those links, not the golf links, but the internet eyes. Links on talkingaboutbirds.com. We got t-shirts there as well. You can email us and chat with us at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. And of course, as always, you can call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737.
Yes, Hambone, we actually received a very nice message from a woman who listens to the show who was expressing frustration about the Warranted. Okay. It's actually something that we've talked about on the show a fair amount. It's been a little while since we've talked about it, but if this weekend
the Cardinals played a game on Apple TV, and then they played a game on Roku TV. And so for many listeners, and she pointed out older listeners or older fans of baseball who may not have the funds or ability to access all these different types of viewership platforms, it is taking the game away from them. That is something that you and I have talked a lot about: access to the game, access to the sport.
Oh, I mean, a single series being on 3 platforms is utter bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say that.
Proud to say that. And so
yeah.
I think the brought to you by FanDuel subscription that you can now get where you pay and you get direct access is a significant step forward, but there is still many barriers for a lot of people to view the game. And the league believes the biggest problem with the sport is the game itself. I know you believe, a lot of us believe it's everything around the game, how you access it, how they promote it, how they give you, how they bring the game to you is a bigger problem.
I also think broadcasters trashing the modern game is
well,
to the game.
That's kind of
well.
They're all employees of these networks that are that are limiting access to everything. So it's a real problem and a demographic that doesn't get talked about as much on this show that she pointed out, which is the older viewer, is a big problem. So thank you for the call. We really appreciate that. Thank you for listening and sharing that with us. So okay. We've already talked about it a fair amount, but Hambone will be there in attendance. So hide your kids, hide your wives. Man, what a dated reference.
Talk about old man.
Hambone
Jesus.
will be at the game. I couldn't even get it done. I don't know why it popped up. The Cardinals go to Chicago for 3. Big series in Wrigley. We just talked about the Cubs, but what are you expecting to see at this series other than
knockdown, drag out? Yeah, street fight. It's gonna be rough. The Cardinals are going to face Colin Ray, Jameson Taillon, who's not been terrible, and Matthew Boyd, who looked really good against the Cardinals last time around. The rest of this team, we know Kyle Tucker is really, really good. PCA is starting to swing and miss, which I've been calling for all year. It's starting to happen, so that's nice to see. But this team is good. This team is good at run prevention. This team has a really good defense. And Kyle Tucker and Seiya Suzuki and Pete Crow Armstrong and Swanson. I mean, they got some boppers. Nico Horner is their 8th place hitter. He might be the best defensive second baseman in baseball, and he's starting to hit the ball over the wall and he's stealing bases. They're just a good team, and it's really annoying.
I agree. Yeah, Seiya Suzuki, you call him out. Everyone's been talking about PCA, and rightfully so. Everyone's been talking about Tucker, rightfully so. But Suzuki has really broke out last year, but he had some injuries and didn't really play the full year, so it didn't really get as much spotlight. But he currently has a 135 WRC plus and is just really mashing right in the middle of that lineup. He's good, and having Tucker,
he has already hit the most home runs of any season in his career, and we are halfway through the season. He's got 23. He's doinking dongs.
He's on a 40 home run pace right in the middle of that lineup with PCA, Nico Horner, Kyle Tucker. I've never been a big fan of Dansby Swanson, but you could do a lot worse than Dansby Swanson.
Absolutely.
It's a good team, unfortunately. I don't want to talk too much, give them too many flowers, but it's a good team. And going to Wrigley is always tough. The ball will probably be flying, but I don't know. They beat them 2 games of 4, and those 2 games of 4, they looked pretty dominating. I know it was at home. It's a very different environment. But this team has shown an ability to beat tough teams pretty consistently all year. So while I think this will be a tough series, I'm going in with some confidence, despite the fact that barring some heroics here, the Cardinals are about to be swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates. But you know what? You win some, you lose some.
Yeah. It happens. It is very annoying.
Yeah, well, then the White Sox, like 3 of their 18 wins last year or whatever, it was like a sweep of the Yankees in Yankee Stadium or something like that last year. So, it happens.
Baseball is insane. That's part of why I like it so much. It's like, the Thunder isn't going into not the Pacers. They're really good. Isn't going into the Nets. They're good now too. Anyways, in other sports, that kind of thing doesn't happen. I don't know enough about basketball to quote anything, but you get what I'm trying to say.
There was some study that was like, how many games would a series have to be in order for you to truly say variance was removed and the best team won? And it's something like 89. It might have even been more, but it's like 89 game series would be the lowest you could do for a series to feel like, okay, the best team won this series. So we do 3 game series in this sport, at most 7. So it's all just a crapshoot.
Well, yeah, it's like you catch a Pirates team that is objectively a bad team, but their bullpen is shoving right now as a unit, and you run into a buzzsaw, and that's just kind of how it goes. Timing is a huge part of it.
So now the Cardinals, after that, will begin that homestand, and will begin a set of series against weaker teams. You outlined it before. The first one we get is the Washington Nationals. We've played them before. This is not a great team, though it is a team that is building something. They have some real high-end talent. They just don't have the full thing yet. But James Wood is, superstar, if not now, future superstar. CJ Abrams, incredible. Mackenzie Gore really breaking out. There's some real talent on this team. They just also have a fair bit of gaps. So hopefully a game, the series the Cardinals can win.
Yeah, Cardinals will be facing Trevor Williams in Game 1. Looks like Mackenzie Gore for Game 2, Jake Irvin for Game 3. And it looks like that Wednesday game will be Mackenzie Gore versus Sonny Gray. So that should be a really fun match. But yeah, I agree with everything you said. There's not too much else to talk about. Brady House is another prospect that they brought up recently who is probably their third baseman of the future. He hasn't really clicked entirely yet. But yeah, James Wood is... he's pushing for an MVP. Yeah. He's not going to win it because of some of the other competition, but he has come online very, very quickly, and he hits the ball the other way, I think, better than anyone in baseball right now. It is his opposite field home run swing is a lot of fun. Hopefully the Cardinals can keep that down, though.
Yeah, if you're a Nationals fan, you got to feel pretty good about, one, the Juan Soto trade, but two, just like the direction the team is going. And I do think, you got to give some credit to the Nationals. If you're going to trade a Juan Soto, which a lot of people did not like them doing that, I imagine many fans were very, very upset. They absolutely did it the exact right way and have, set themselves up for like their 5 best players all came from that trade. I think we already talked about this relatively recently, but it's pretty cool.
I think they're at the point where they're going to make another like Jason Worth style deal this offseason and kind of come back. They have another year of seasoning for Abrams and Wood and Robert Hassel might be a guy. Dylan Cruz will get better once he gets healthy. I wouldn't be surprised if they go sign a couple of big free agents and try to get themselves like launch back to being a
the timing's probably pretty good for them too. The Braves obviously are struggling this year, and they're not getting any younger. And the Phillies are, that core is getting quite old. I think they'll be pretty good for a while. But Zach Wheeler already said he's retiring at the end of 2027. Harper,
I don't buy that.
I don't know. He's always been a little like he took the not hometown. He took the discount. I believe him. I think he strikes me as that kind of guy who's just like super self-aware, knows what he wants, and he's going to be out. But I don't know if he wins like a Cy Young this year or next, maybe he'll change his mind. But 2020 is a lot of baseball, and that's ages 36 and 37 for him. A lot can change in his performance. But if he's still shoving like he is now,
he's still one of the best. Yeah, he's still one of the best in the game. Yeah. He's gonna stick around, I think.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into a little bit of league news and then wrap up with a little game.
Yeah. Yeah, not too much to talk about. Actually, a couple of funny stories this week. But have you been paying attention to this Diamondbacks home run thief story?
A little bit. I saw. Yeah. Well, you break it down for the listeners.
So there's a season ticket holder at the Diamondbacks stadium who sits out. He's got front row seats right in front of left field, and over the past 4 seasons, he has interfered with various home run balls. And somebody put together a super cut of him interfering with all these home run balls. And once I think people realized that it was the same guy every time, Baseball Internet got really mad. I think The Athletic wrote a story about it. And he is now banned from the Diamondback Stadium for the remainder of the year. And I think that this is good. I think it's completely insane that you are a season ticket holder. You would assume, therefore, a baseball fan. And you have interrupted multiple games. You seem to be in your 50s or 60s. Are you really need a ball that bad that you're going to reach over and interfere? Yeah. There was a home run, or he robbed a ball the other day that got turned into a double. What I do find funny about this guy is he's not doing it to help the Diamondbacks. It doesn't matter who's hitting the ball, whether it's the home team or the away team. He is interfering with it if it is near him. So me being the grouch that I am, I'm like, get him out of there. Revoke his season tickets. This guy's a moron.
Yeah. I'm sure he has the seats there for that purpose, right? Like that's gotta be what he's doing it for. There's just that compulsion. There's that other guy who's a notorious douchebag.
He just has to be a part of it. Oh, the
ball hawk guy.
I know who you're talking about, the guy that like rips balls out of children's hands.
Yeah, he's caught thousands of home run balls and chases down the really valuable ones and all that. Yeah, it's like
his name is Zach Hampel, and I think he is a whack ass piece of shit.
Get him.
You hear me now, Zach?
Definitely.
He has 600,000 subscribers on his YouTube. What are you guys doing? What are you watching him
the long ball. I don't know.
What?
He's out there catching them.
He's 47. Yeah. I find that everybody should do whatever they want, but I don't know. Adults, do whatever you want. Never mind.
As someone who's never caught a home run ball and has almost zero possibility of catching a home run ball, I really don't get it. But I mean, I guess it's probably incredibly exciting as a fan to catch a home run ball. My
Fair.
uncle-in-law caught one of Tony Cruz's 4 career home runs at the Cincinnati Reds stadium, which is kind of fun. But anyway, to put your to lean into put yourself on the line there and interfere with the game is just such the opposite compulsion than what I have. You know what I mean? My entire desire there would be to not get in the way of the player, and I can't understand that mentality of I'm going to get in there and get it. I think it's funny that he did it so long and no one noticed, and it's some internet sleuths figured it out. So,
well, yeah, I'm sure if you're a Diamondbacks fan, you're watching these games and you're like, it's that same dumbass reaching over the wall, screwing up the game. All right. Last piece of news I want to talk about is that the Women's Pro Baseball League to hold their first ever tryouts coming up next month in August. I think that this is great. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast or not. And I don't know how controversial this is. So I'll be curious to see if we get any feedback on this. But I don't understand softball, Nate. Why are we playing 2 different sports? Why isn't everyone just playing baseball?
Yeah, I honestly don't know the answer to that. I don't know.
I truly don't.
I don't know.
It never has made sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, it is I want to also respect to softball players. It is as competitive and as challenging as baseball at this point. So it's not like
I'm not saying
I know
it's
you're not.
I'm just saying, why have we invented another sport?
Yeah. Well, and why is it so clearly drawn along the lines of men and women, right? Because like there's a lot of sports that are similar but different, and whatever. There's just a lot of different games out there. But how did we end up? I bet there's some really interesting information out there about how we ended up with this sort of gendered split of a sport. But I don't know. But I am very pro this league. I think most people are. They should be. I think it's cool. We'll see where it goes.
I think this league is going to it'll start happening, and I think we will at some point get a women's pro baseball league player into MLB. And I think that is going to be wild. But I think a woman will play in MLB from this
certainly
league.
Seems like the obvious path to it, right? Because that's been one of the harder things about this is that the even though baseball is not technically there is no rule, Airbud rules here. There's no rule against a woman playing in MLB, but like the league is so structured now, and you have to play through all the lower levels. There hasn't been the pipeline of talent generation to get someone good enough to play at the MLB level. But yeah, I think if the star of whoever becomes the best of this.
Well, I think part of it is because they're playing a different sport, and it's
sure. There is. That's what I'm saying. There is no path. There is no path to get good enough because there is not the system is not in place to create that. So I hope so. Right. I hope you're right. I think that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got.
All right, Hambone, we're gonna play a quick little game. I'm gonna test your memory. I love to do that. We have the All-Star break coming up, and the voting is happening right now. It's going through the final series. I want to see how well you can remember the most recent years of Cardinal participation in the All-Star game. So we're playing Who Charted All-Star Edition. So we're just going to go back the last handful of years and see if you can remember who was a Cardinals representative or representatives in these All-Star games. This is tough. So I'm
going to be terrible.
That's okay. So I'm just going to start wide open, and then I can narrow it down for you if you want. So in 2024, do you remember how the Cardinals fared in the All-Star game?
2024. It seems so long ago. How did the Cardinals fare in 2024? I can't think of any of our position players that made it. I'm going to guess Sonny Gray was elected to it and Ryan Helsley. That makes the most sense to me.
You got one of them.
Ryan Helsley, it was...
Yeah.
Obviously he was the best closer in baseball last year. Sonny Gray didn't make it?
The Cardinals had one representative in the All-Star game, and that was
so it was just Ryan Helsley then.
Okay. All right. 2023.
2023, I'm guessing, was that the year that Sonny Gray made it as a Cardinal? I'm convinced that he made it as a Cardinal one year. That would have been his first year. He was pretty good. I'll say him, and I will say Paulie Goldschmidt.
Nope. Hambone was not. Last year was Sonny Gray's first year with the Cardinals, and yeah. So it was just Nolan Arenado in 2023.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
Funny.
Okay. All right. 2022. It goes wide open. I will just tell you, in 2022, including reserves and a special one, the Cardinals had five representatives in the All-Star game.
5 representatives in the All-Star game. Obviously, Paulie G, Arenado, Albert Pujols.
That is correct. So Nolan was a reserve. Goldschmidt was a starter. And Pujols was selected by the commissioner as a legacy addition, something that they do sometimes.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, he was so bad at the beginning of 2022, he almost retired, but instead decided to finish up the season and ultimately went on an absolute tear. And
balled out. Yeah. And God, my memory is so terrible. That was the year that Yachty was just like not around, but he was on the team. So he probably was not an all-star. Oh, maybe he was though, just as like a popularity legacy thing. Jeez, who else? Who was even on the team back then?
I will tell you that
God.
the two other people you're missing are still on the team.
Helsley? Yep. And still on the team, really. Helsley. I said Arenado. I said, was it Brendan Donovan?
No.
Is he an all-star? No.
Well, Hambone, sometimes you got to cowboy up and join the all-star game. Miles Michaelis was a reserve named after Corbin Burns opted out.
What?
Yeah. Miles Michaelis.
Huh. That makes no sense. I would have never guessed that. Not if I would have guessed the entire 26-man roster over guessing Miles Michaelis.
All right. Yeah,
good
let's
Miles,
do one more year. 2021. I will tell you there were 3.
I'm guessing Arenado and Goldschmidt again.
Not in 2021.
Not Goldschmidt.
Arenado.
I'm guessing
Arenado was in.
Yeah,
he was the starter.
I'm guessing Yachty or
Correct.
Molina.
I believe that was his final year in the All-Star game. He was named as a reserve, replacing Buster Posey.
And Wayno?
No, this is one you will. I mean, this stupid thing to say. You'll remember it when I say it, but you'll never get this one. But I'll give you a hint. It was a reliever who was the closer to play that for at least for the first half of that year.
It's a reliever who was the closer in 2021. I feel like I should know this. The reliever who was the closer in 2021. Wow. Jason Isringhausen.
Yeah. When he came back for his age, like 52 season or whatever. No, Hambone. Alex Reyes. Remember that?
Oh, I remember. Yeah. I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah, he had.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that.
Crazy first half, like 19 saves or something like that in the first half, and everyone still wanted him to be a starter, but it was like, all right, at the very least, he's an elite reliever. We're getting something, and then the rest is history. But yeah, he was a reserve, but he was an all-star in 2021. My last one I was going to do, but we'll just skip. The only person who represented the Cardinals in the All-Star game in 2019, a year in which the Cardinals went to the NLCS, was Paul DeJong. So,
wow, definitely would not have gotten that one. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yep. So, all right. Well, you did okay, Hambone.
Oh my God, that was terrible. Yeah, don't say that.
I always make these games. When I make them, I try to like play it a little bit myself just to see how hard it's going to be. And that helps me kind of decide how I'm going to go about it. And, like this is impossible. Mostly because we just don't we don't care that much about the All-Star game. And frankly, the Cardinals just haven't really represented there for a while now, except for 2022. I think it was it 2022 though, where they had, we had like Aaron, at one point, like half the infield was Cardinals. It was like Goldie, Arenado, Yachty, I think were all playing at the same time.
I think so. Yeah, that sounds right.
So, all right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode. Big series against the Cubs. Hambone, good luck in Chicago. Eat an extra beef for me. And we'll be back next week, as always. And until next week, you got to say it. Go Cardinals.
More like the Floods.
talking about?